Hi, everyone, and welcome to We Are a Crotchety Old Man,
And a woman.
the podcast with you, for you, and sometimes even about you. How you doing, Abigail?
I'm doing just great, Arden. How are you doing?
I am doing good. You know why I'm doing good today?
Why?
Because I was outside today for National Eat Outside Day. I guess they figured it's the last weekend of the unofficial summer. Is that what it's called? Or I don't even know when fall begins. So the unofficial end of summer. So it's National Eat Outside. So hopefully people are eating outside while they're listening to this.
Well, I have a question for you, Arden.
And I'm here to
What's
answer.
the best memory you have of eating outside? When? And at
Ooh.
about what age?
Well, I'm gonna go all the way back, literally just hanging out with my friends, teaching them how to cook on a grill, and also one where my dad had this old rotisserie 1970s barbecue, and it never worked, and it would like start making this weird sound and be like, "Nyang, nyang, 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 nyang," and then it would stop. He'd get all angry, but I would find it pretty funny. It was, but yeah, just all those times, going down to the park and using those disgusting barbecues. I just love that as a kid.
Well,
What about
mine's
you?
mine's a little bit more nostalgic, but you just mentioned it. My favorite was when my dad used to take us down to a river, and I didn't mind the gross I mean the
The
charcoal
girl.
grill. Didn't bother me a bit. It was just a good time. You don't have to spend a lot of money, and it was one of those really nice to eat outside days.
Yeah, I do like it. I do like it. So first, I have to give an apology. I made a mistake. I was correct about the person, but the my brother called me out because I said that James Madison was not even 5 foot tall. He was actually 5'4" in last week. So I do apologize for making that mistake. It does happen.
Um, yeah, but that was a pretty bad mistake, and it should not happen on this podcast. But
It
that's
shouldn't,
okay.
but it does. It does. I mean, hey,
It is okay.
he's still the shortest president. So, congratulations, and that his wife is more famous than he is for her bakery goods.
That's true.
Yeah. So we're changing it up today. Abigail asked and volunteered. She wants to do this day in history for us. So I'm gonna just let you have it. I have no idea. I paid no attention. I didn't even read.
Well, Arnie, you may not know this, but I love true crime, but I really love true murders, including serial killers. So this day in 1888, the first mutilated body of a woman was found in London's East End, and she is the first victim, they believe, of Jack the Ripper.
Oh wow, that did and that the Jack the Ripper ones, they were never truly solved, were they?
100% not.
Wow, that's interesting. Wow,
But
you would have thought that
but they do believe this woman was the first
the
victim.
first.
Yes.
Wow, okay.
So you'll know more about this than I, but in 1935, FDR signed the Equality Act.
The Equality Act.
And do you know anything about it? I know a little.
I think that's when it's not what you would think about today. It's not about equity or equality or anything like that. Nothing like that. But it had to do something. It was like not part of the Lend Lease, where we were giving weapons to like the Soviet. Well, they weren't the Soviet Union back then, or were they? Wow, yeah, they were. They were the Russian Soviet Union, and Britain. I think that's what it was part of. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
ultimately, the goal was to keep the United States out of
Neutral.
wars,
That's
and they
right.
wanted us to be neutral, but it would allow us to provide weaponry or other resources to our allies.
Awesome. Yeah, I should have known that 100%, but I knew some of it.
You did. So I found this one pretty interesting. In 1955, GM, General Motors, produced the first solar powered car. Now, it was only 12 inches. But what
Okay.
made it special was they predicted that a Model similar that was used to rank in solar power could be used or lead to be used as an energy source for homes one day. And we have passed that.
And what year is this?
1955.
1955. They had solar panels on a little tiny car, like it was 12 inches, and it moved. And we've done nothing with it.
Pretty
That
much.
where's our guy with the conspiracies? He can talk about big oil taking over. That they stopped it. Kind of like the guy who invented the water car that disappeared, and the wind powered car, but that doesn't really help a wind powered car.
Well, I remember this next person from 1980 because it was on the news with Ronald Reagan.
Oh, okay.
That a guy named Lech, I believe, Walesa, he succeeds in getting Poland to agree for the Organization of Workers, aka unions.
Oh, wow.
So it was a big deal. In 1990, he was actually elected president in Poland, but at some point he also won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
So, obviously he did something pretty phenomenal. Maybe Poland was communist.
That's what I was wondering
I
because
think that's what made it so special.
in 1980, Pope John Paul was he Pope then? I th- I
so.
think he came into power as well. But that's when the Nobel Prize actually meant something. Like Arafat, Yasser Arafat won the Nobel Peace Prize. Oh, remember when Barack Obama won the Nobel Peace Prize? Like he just
when
became
They
president.
woke him up in the middle of the night to tell him. I almost threw up when I saw that.
I mean, he
He
could.
had not have done one freaking thing. It was in late November, I believe, of the month he was elected. He had not done one thing, and they gave him the Nobel Peace Prize. Talk about cheapening something.
Right. You remember, there was a lot of conservative pundits who were preaching that Donald Trump should have won it after the Abraham Accords, and the fact that he is the most current president who didn't get us involved in a war, and he didn't get one.
Well,
I'm assuming Kamala will have one, if she gets elected. She'll probably get it beforehand.
Yeah.
Probably.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to move along.
Sorry.
We're running behind here. In 1985, this is again going back to my serial killer obsession.
Wow.
An LA mob pounced on the Night Stalker, who had been on the loose for a long time, but they had images of him plastered on TVs and posters. And some citizens took it upon themselves that once they saw him, they pounded him onto the ground until the police arrested him.
Is it really bad that I actually will watch YouTube videos of good Samaritans finding they'll go after people and they beat the crap out of them? I love those videos. I'm cheering. like you see the guy who punches a girl and then all of a sudden six other guys just attack him, or the guy who robs the little old lady with a purse. And he gets taken down and they kick the crap out of him too, and then give the purse back to the those are good. We need more of that. More justice. Yeah, great. My brother's probably shaking his head right now.
Okay, so we're going to move up to 1992.
1992.
Bill Clinton's Janet Reno, was it?
Janet Reno.
Yeah.
As
she was the head of the FBI. So that made her the
was she the head of the FBI, or was she just the head of the Justice Department?
well, it's the same thing.
Well, the CIA is also. Well, I don't know.
Anyway, head of
Whatever.
Justice.
Janet Reno.
She was responsible ultimately for the Ruby Ridge episode that did end on this day in history. Essentially, Randy Weaver lost his wife, his 14-year-old son, and one U.S. Marshal died. And
Remember the standoff on that?
Right.
It was on CNN every day.
I understand, again, why he should have been arrested. But again, it was how they did it. It turned into a total tragedy.
And they went in with the the FBI tank. It was black. It said FBI on it.
They were just trying. It also happened in Waco. Same type of thing. Totally mishandled.
Yeah.
All right, last one.
Oh, all right.
Which I do have something to say about. In 1997, on this day, Princess Diana died in that car crash.
What? And now we know you're not very happy with the Royals. You're not a fan of theirs. So to our, do I say sorry? My condolences to the our one guy in England who listens to us
I
regularly.
guess so. I guess so. Again, on the day she died, and especially her funeral, all over the world, people were sobbing and just sobbing and lighting candles and putting a bunch of teddy bears in front of the frickin' palace. I just don't get it. How can you be that devastated over someone you've never met?
Right. I mean, yeah, the tragedy of someone dying, okay, I can understand. But how do people relate to her? Like, was it like, did they think because she was like a fairy tale princess?
I guess.
Like,
I just don't get it.
Like, was Prince Charles much older than her? Like, I mean, they weren't together anymore, but they weren't divorced. And she was cheating on him. I mean, he was cheating. There's a new word. I am
Wait a
cheating.
minute. They were divorced.
They were
I
divorced?
think you need to fact check yourself.
That's why it was more of a question.
Yeah, they were divorced.
They were divorced. Okay, I thought that they never actually got divorced.
I'm pretty sure.
I thought
we'll
once
fact check that for
we'll
next
know
week.
that next week because I don't know.
And again, quickly, even when a child is killed or murdered, and people go to their houses and lay, teddy bears and flowers, and they sit there and they cry and they do night vigils, all for someone they didn't know.
Well, unless I know, I can understand if it was like of a significance, a tragedy. I get it. They want to show support, but sometimes I think a lot of people do it for their own self, if that makes sense.
I guess.
But I don't know. So we are at the time we wanted to talk about sports because last week we were going to talk about. I asked Abigail to do some research on the college football playoff system. I actually watched some Army football last night, and then I watched the entire Maryland game today. Maryland won by quite a lot. But I actually didn't know. So what does it take to make it's 12 teams, right? Something like that?
Okay. Before I school you on the college football playoffs, which is now going to be called CFP, I do have to state one line about my girl, Caitlin. She scored 31 points last night, and they crushed Angel Reese, the arch rival, and the Chicago Sky. They have rocked it since the Olympic break. And I think they're going to make the playoffs, even though they started out as 1-8. Arden.
What are they? 16-16 or something like that?
I'm not sure, but all I know is they're heading to the playoffs.
They are.
Okay, so let's get down to this new football playoff.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, so after 10 years using the 4-team model, they have modified it yet again. So what they've done is they've expanded it from the 4 teams you saw last year to 12 teams in a bracket style tournament. So I'm not an expert on this, but I kind of envision just like March Madness, but with only 12 teams.
Okay, that's fair.
And apparently the 5 highest ranked. Now, I want to say this, Arden. There's a couple programs that rank these teams, right? There's the coaches poll. And then there's somebody else's poll.
There's like the media poll. There's a bunch of different polls.
Well, that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, there should be like one standard.
All right. Anyway, so ultimately, 4 of the 5 ranked conference championships are in, and they get a bye.
Okay.
Basically.
Okay.
So the remaining ones, the next one.
Go ahead.
I'll try to keep talking even though I'm being distracted.
Oh, that's all right.
So, anyway, there's going to be one 5-conference ranked team of champs that are not.
I apologize. I have to cut him. I have Mr. Alfred on the phone right now who's calling me. Mr. Alfred, I'm actually in the middle of a podcast, but I don't have you on speakerphone. Would it be possible for me to call you back? Okay. Well, I'll talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye. I greatly apologize for that. I should have had this on mute.
All right. I'll just continue on. Now, we talk about the conference champions. They have dissolved the Pac 12,
Yep.
which I guess was the Pacific something. I don't know.
Something like that.
But it guarantees at least one group of the 5 champions will make it to the CFP.
Okay, I think that's fair. So you have the Power Five and then conferences, and then you have the rest of college football.
Correct. So when you look at a school like Notre Dame and other independents that don't play conference championships, they can never be in the top 4, so therefore they can never have a bye, but they could get into the tournament.
Right. Which would be, yeah, that makes total sense. So now what I'm seeing is like Richmond, where my niece now goes to college, they are not in a Power 5 conference, so they basically have to go undefeated just to make the playoffs of the top 12.
Potentially.
Right, but at least it gives them a chance, because before they had no chance, because the coaches poll would always, because if you're playing in like the Sun Belt, you're not gonna actually ever get, even if you go undefeated, they're gonna be like, yeah, you suck. You played a bunch of scrub teams. You're not playing like the big boys. But now at least that team does get a chance. So I'm gonna watch it this year. I've never watched a lot of college football, but this is the year I will.
Well, I don't know much about it because I'm not a huge fan, but it seemed like you always had the same 4 teams pretty much every year.
Yeah.
So this way, it's like March Madness. You could be what do they call a Cinderella?
A Cinderella team can make it and actually upset, because I was watching very briefly. They were talking about Ohio State, saying Ohio State had 17 NFL ready players on their team. Mm-hmm. That's nuts. I mean, they are. And then they were talking about how much these kids are getting paid already with the new rules where they can get sponsorships. Mm-hmm. And they're like, well, that's the $5,000 wide receiver core. I mean, college football has changed so dramatically, but you know what? At least you still got kids playing, and it's not the pros.
Yeah.
And they're not going to take knees.
Yeah. Well, that's all I had. I mean, it's more complicated than the way I just said it, but I think I summed it up.
I think you did a great job. I didn't even know how many teams were making it. It was very confusing, but thank you. Good job. So did you have any other history or anything else, or do we got to go into the fun stuff now?
I think we can go into whatever you deem is the fun stuff. I'm
Well-
not sure what that is.
So I was talking to my dog Toto today, and he was literally, and I'll talk about him later. He actually had a good question for you, because we cheated, by the way. We actually watched the Kamala Harris press, whatever that was, the interview. We watched it on YouTube. So they just edited it out, so you don't have to watch the full hour of it. And it was basically 18 minutes. It was great. So Toto and I watched it. I know you've watched it. What were your feelings on the whole thing? I know how I felt after listening to pundits and talk. I thought she did,
Okay.
but I want your feelings. What did you think about? Go for that.
I didn't get to watch it when it was aired. I almost said live, but it wasn't live.
Right, it was taped.
When it was aired, but yesterday I did. And I told Arden about the 18 minutes that was spread over a 1-hour period, which I had read about. At the end of the day, we have this woman that wants to be the most powerful woman in the world.
Person in the world.
Arden?
She will be the most powerful woman, but yeah.
Okay.
But she'll be
Anyway, she needed to have an old white man to be her wingman for, again, an 18-minute interview. And
Right.
in many cases, she couldn't even look Dana in the eyes. Donna, whatever. What's her last name? B starts with a B?
I almost called her Dana Roach. I don't know why.
I can't think of her name right now, but
Yeah, I know. Dana Bach? Dana.
oh, who cares?
Yeah, Dana.
She started out strong as
Dana Batch.
Dana Badge. She started out strong, was no softballs in the beginning, but again, Kamala just, number one, I can't even stand her voice. her voice just irritates the shit out of me. And overall, the first question was, or second, what is her agenda? Because she has not really said what it is.
Right. There's
And
nothing on her
she
website.
said she wants to have an opportunity economy.
Right.
And then she actually said to counteract the last 10 years of policy
Right.
in this country.
The last decade.
Well, the last decade. So let's see who was involved in the last decade. A good chunk of that was Barack Obama.
Right. Well, Dana Bash actually called her on that and said, you've been in office for 3.5 years, and Barack Obama was there prior, plus 4 years of Trump. And then she changed it. And she said, oh, no, before Joe Biden and I got into office. That makes it even worse because
Right.
Barack Obama was there then for 6 years.
Absolutely. So now how's she going to do that? She's going to cut down costs by, accusing all these companies of price gouging.
Or as she likes to say, price gauging.
Yes, increase the child care incentive tax purposes.
Okay.
And provide affordable housing by giving $25,000 to people to buy a house. Now, if I recall, last time they just threw money at people to buy houses, most of them lost their houses.
And it caused my brother who is into the mortgage industry, he said that it just got crazy when that happened. You have a whole bunch of people who can't afford mortgages being able to get mortgages all of a sudden. But I do have to say, I got to be a hint fair. Some states already actually do offer. I don't know numbers, but it might be like $5,000-$10,000 already to help out. So some states do also do that. And for the child tax credit, JD Vance was talking about actually $10,000. So I
just
learned.
heard
So
a pundit talk about all these
Yep.
different countries that tried these types of programs, spending in general. Has that ultimately led to socialism? And if she gets elected, that's probably the road we're going down.
that was kind of what I was hearing. It was just invest.
Which
That's
means
spending. That means spending, which means higher inflation.
Right. And so, Dana did say to her, your slogan is "We're not going back." And Dana said things, but most Americans believe that things were better under Trump. So what are you going to go back to? To what?
Right.
What are you going to go back to? What does that mean?
Yeah, and she really had she went into like some weird answer.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, with Democrats, they inherit the worst economy.
Right, always.
Always.
The car was in the ditch. We got to get it out of the ditch.
Always.
Yep.
And as we all know, she could have gotten any of this stuff passed in the last few years. They had control and power, and she was the deciding vote in the Senate. Yes, Arden, or not?
She was on many. She was the
And
final
they
vote.
did not get it done.
Well, she also did pass the Inflation Act, the Inflation Reduction Act, that actually raised inflation. So,
Well,
oops.
and then, all the flip-flops, Dana brought those up, and all Kamala could say was, her values have not changed, and she just used spin to get out of that.
Right.
And then the last segment that I watched was a total fluff job. Mainly her praising Joe Biden and Waltz talking a little bit about himself, but otherwise it had no substance. And what was the big missing piece, Arden, of the whole thing? You're not going to answer it. I am. And there was no mention of the border.
Nothing.
How could you not bring up the border?
Or the wars. What about the hostages that have been the American hostages that
Yeah.
are still it's almost a year now. Well,
Yeah, I mean, and if Dana had any, she should have said
you can say cojones.
cojones.
Thank you. I like that word.
What about the withdrawal from Afghanistan? You were part of that decision, but she didn't ask her that.
Nope.
All right, I'm
So
done ranting.
you're ranting. So your overall grade was not a very good interview.
An F,
An F.
of
Okay.
course.
All right. You know what I'm going to call it? Boopadoodles. a word that my brother and his friends invented many, many years ago, and I'm going to try to bring it back. So anytime I find something bad, I'm going to call it boopadoodles. So
Okay.
that's a
Well,
word. Well, maybe this will help you. So we had a conversation about our true or false questions, and last week we went pretty easy for for poor Abigail in giving her her favorite artist, Mary Chapin Carpenter. So this time I asked her what one of her favorite movies are, and she really didn't. She threw out The Wizard of Oz.
yeah, I'm not much of a movie person. But The Wizard of Oz, when it's on, I watch it. I admit it.
So I actually found an entire website developed for the Wizard of Oz, and it had over 100 unique facts
A
about
hundred.
100. Don't
Wow.
worry, I'm only going to give you 11.
Well, I will also state that my Toto, my beloved Toto, was actually, I got the name and the idea from The Wizard of Oz. They weren't the exact same breeds, but that's why Toto is named Toto.
So I have total questions in here, but here we go. Question one: Was the Wizard of Oz the first colorized movie?
Ooh, because it was black and white, and then they made it color.
Yes.
I would say no.
That is correct. The first colorized movie was actually called The World, the Flesh, and the Devil.
So, not a big movie.
Not a big famous movie, but it was the first movie in Technicolor.
Interesting.
Number two, the Cowardly Lion's costume was actually made of real lion hides.
Wow. I'm going to go with true.
It is true. It also took him 2 hours to get into his makeup. Number three, and I'm trying to be a little fast here because of time. The ruby slippers were actually silver in the books.
False.
That was actually true. The reason they went to silver looked like it was black and white on screen, so they decided to make him bright, and we would use the term pop. I'm not a fan of it, so I say we. But it brought it out. Number four, Shirley Temple was originally slated to play Dorothy.
True.
That is true. She was originally. I don't know why. It didn't say why she was not. And here's the big question, Toto. So Toto's real name was Terry, and it was actually a girl dog.
I don't think so. I think Toto was considered a boy dog. But I don't know about Terry.
I'm talking about the real dog.
I know.
Oh, the real actress or actor.
Oh, you mean the dog itself?
Yeah, the dog itself. The dog that played Toto.
Oh, shit. I don't know. True.
That is true. It was actually a girl named Terry.
That was a total guess, folks.
Okay. Sticking with Toto. Toto actually got paid more than the Munchkins.
I'm going to go with true.
That is true. She made $125 a week, which, by the way, the Munchkins only made $50 a week. So, and they didn't have to sing or dance. One more Toto question for you. Toto actually was injured by Toto got injured and broke her paw and was out of action for 2 weeks, and they had to film other scenes.
Yeah, I mean, how in the hell am I supposed to know that one?
Oh, hey,
I'm going with false.
it was true. And the woman who actually played the Wicked Witch also suffered burns and injuries very early on, and she missed time. So they had to film other things. Okay. The Wizard of Oz won Best Picture in 1940.
I don't know what year. I'm going to say false.
It's false, but not because of the year. It was nominated. Gone with the Wind won Best Picture. Number 9, Margaret Hamilton, who played the Wicked Witch, asked newspapers back in the day, newspaper reporters, that when she died, she would like her obituary to say, "Ding dong, the witch is dead."
I'm going going with true.
True, and guess what? They
They
did.
did.
They did. How awesome is that? So that was number 9. We got 2 more questions, and we got time here. True or false? The Wizard of Oz was called the first blockbuster.
True.
False. It actually was considered a flop. It did terribly until it was re-released multiple times. And the 11th fun question: on the 75th anniversary of Wizard of Oz, Arden took his mom to go see it in the movie theater.
Wow. Let's see. I guess true.
True.
What a good son.
I did. My mom said she didn't see it as a kid, so I took my mom to the movies, and they actually had it blown up. I should have seen it in IMAX. I don't know if they could have done that, but yeah. So there we go.
So I didn't do that well.
No, I think
I missed 3.
you missed 3, so you got a 70. So actually, hey, if you were in Baltimore education system, you would be an honor student.
You're absolutely correct, Arden.
Oh, it's been one of those days, people. So we had nachos today for lunch, by the way.
Yes, we did, and it was pretty good.
It was good because I wanted to have a little tailgate. I'm telling you, I'm into football for about a week, and next week is regular NFL. So NFL begins, right?
I guess.
On
It's usually
Thursday.
on a Thursday night.
Yeah, so Thursday the NFL begins, and then pretty soon you got basketball and hockey starting in October. So, wow.
And you got to wrap up baseball.
And you got baseball, and then you got WNBA playoffs.
That's right.
Wow, because Caitlin Clark is
And
going
I
to
just
steal the
want to
show.
say screw you to Joe.
Wow, that was rude.
Well, he's the one about the WNBA making that snide comment.
Oh, I'm glad you actually answered that because maybe the guy from India who listens to us was named Joe, and he's like, "What?" The poor guy. So did you have anything else? I know today was all about you talking and me just sitting back relaxing.
No, I think I think we went through a lot. I will let Arden take the show back over next week, and yeah, I hope everyone enjoys this Labor Day weekend, and looking forward to going up to New Jersey next week, and I guess we'll do the podcast from there.
Wow, we should do it at Daniel's house.
Maybe.
Maybe. He probably would be like, no, you can't do it at my house. He probably would want residuals. He'll charge us rent. Bastard. Or we can do it with Odd. Anyway, so thanks for listening. Follow us on X at Crotchety Old Men, or we are crotchetyoldmen at gmail.com. We are crotchetyoldmen at gmail.com. Have a wonderful week, everyone.